Hello! Welcome to Friday Sips Live. As you can see, and we'll give it a minute because I started a little bit early, as you can see, still no Dan. He had family things this week, very important things to do, and so you get me again. And, I'm excited to chat and talk about things. And let me turn the volume up a little bit. Check, check. There you go. I'm excited to talk about whiskey. This is Mark, here without Dan, or no bottle of Booker's, because I had too many other bottles to sit in front of me to do that today. But what I want to talk about is allocated, hard to find, unicorn type bottles. My take on that, for as long as I've cared about that stuff, is that whiskey's for drinking. It is it's for sharing with friends. It is not for hoarding on shelves. It is not for, and yeah, I get a little bit of the irony or the hypocrisy of that back there. Those are not collections of bottles. Those are just things I haven't opened and drank yet. And I've always been that way. I've had 2 of the Master's Keep Wild Turkey releases, drank them both. They typically haven't brought a bunch. I just got this Master's Keep 1, the latest release, and it's bringing $400 or $500. That's ridiculous. Frankly, it may be ridiculous to pay the $175 I paid for that one at retail. But my dilemma now is, should I keep drinking these bottles? They're getting a little ridiculous in price. A lot of them I've had over and over again. Hey Angus, hey Larry. Good to see you guys again. I've had plenty. Maybe I should let some doofus pay me all that money for these bottles. And I don't have that many because, frankly, 2 reasons. I don't really chase them. And the other one is that I drink them. So, I had a George T. Stagg, drank it. Dan and I drank a 2019. He got a 2020 release, drank it. Those would probably bring tons of money now since they didn't do a 2021 release. I got, after a long time on wanting, I got one of these old Fitzgeralds. In fact, let's pour a little bit of that. I got one of these old Fitzgerald bottled in bond decanter guys, and this one doesn't bring a ton, but it brings $375 or $400, and I paid $80 for it. But I'm starting to wonder if maybe I'm the one that's not paying attention. Maybe I should let somebody pay me for all these bottles. Ooh. This was one too. This, let's see, that 4 Roses limited edition. If you remember, we opened that one a few Fridays ago. It doesn't bring a ton of money, but it brings double. This is probably the main offender, Stagg Jr. I've had not a ton of these, probably 6 or 7 of these. This one, I may have paid $55 or $60 for this one. That's the most I ever paid for one. I've typically paid $50 or $53 for them. And these guys bring $250. This was a lower proof, and for some reason the Whiskey Geeks under 130 don't pay as much. So this one's batch 13, I think, or 12, one of those in there, bringing $250 to $300 locally, probably more if I go national. What do you guys think? Should I keep these bottles and eventually open them, or just let some doofus pay me all the money for them? I kind of like drinking them. Because that old Fitz is pretty good. I've gone back and forth on that, by the way. When I first opened it, liked it a lot. Second few sips, I was like, it's all right. Hadn't had some in, I don't know, a couple months. Quite tasty. So I kind of like drinking them. I definitely like this guy, this 4 Roses limited edition small batch. Holy smoke, is it good. It is delicious. The one I didn't bring over is the Wild Turkey, Russell's Reserve 13-year-old. Nobody thought that that would bring a ton, because Russell's doesn't usually accelerate on the secondary, but that bottle's bringing $400. I paid $70 for it. I got the Rock Hill Farms. I'm quite inclined to sell this one. I haven't looked in a long time, but I think they're bringing $300 or $400. I paid $75 for it. And frankly, it's, I don't remember if it's mash bill number 1 or 2 from Buffalo Trace, but frankly, I can never taste that much of a difference between those. Eagle Rare and Blanton's and those whiskeys taste pretty similar to me. So I've got a few Blanton's. I'll just open I like Blanton's. I just don't think it's an $85 to $100 bottle of whiskey. I've got a store pick over there that I think will bring 200. That just seems ridiculous. And why not open this guy? Because it's basically the same thing. So I've probably had this. Yeah, it's, you know, a few proof points higher, but I don't know what the age is on it. It's non-age dated. It's probably 8 or 9 years old, just like a Blanton's. Yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy them too. But I'm getting to where I feel like, especially with the Stagg Jr., I've had enough of them, which I think, again, I don't remember 5 or 6 bottles that I've had. I like it a lot, but it is not, I mean, there's just no way I'd pay. If I found one today, yeah, I'd pay $70 for it, probably because I passed on one for $70 not long ago and regret it. But that's just it. I just wouldn't pay that extra for it. I'll tell you what, the old Fitz, I was kind of thinking I wouldn't pay $80. And I think that one's less because it's the 8-year-old and the younger ones. I think the 16, those older ones bring more, but I was thinking I might not pay that much for it again if I got a chance, but this is really good today. And I like wheated bourbons. I've got 3 of the gold top OWAs. I did pay $60 a piece for them a few years ago when it looked like they were about to go through the roof. But then I've got 2 or 3 or 4 more over there that are the old screw tops that I paid $23 for a few years ago. This is a store pick I got just a couple months ago. These silly store picks are bringing $250. I paid $60 for it. So I don't know, man. There's the other one. So there's Bender. Angus says we drink them. Larry says we drink them. Bender says pad the bunker, sell them, fund more. Yeah, in the end, you end up drinking more whiskey. So that's a good question. So let's say we do that. And remember, no shortage of bottles to drink. There's the original deal that I was supposed to do is this cabinet over here. Once I filled it up, I was supposed to stop. That was the deal my wife and I had. As it would happen, and I think maybe you can see it here. So this little piece of furniture kind of got some bottles stacked on it. Most of those are open though. So, you know, open ones don't count. And then you really can't see it over there. Let's see, let's do that. Sorry for the motion, we'll make you guys ill for a second. That cabinet over there has got a few bottles on top, and then that on the left, that cabinet there is stacked full of bottles. There's another dozen or so bottles in there. So the thing is, I get where you're coming from, Bender, but it's not as if I need to pad the bunker any. There's plenty of bottles to drink. I don't know how I had that. How did I have the drinking camera there? So I don't necessarily need any more whiskey, but it's a good question. So I'll put it to the group. Let's say I sell this bottle, which is $250 or $300 here locally, so I don't even have to go national. Can meet somebody and collect $250 or $300. I've got, call it $60 with tax in it. Let's just say $200 net. What would you buy today with $200 extra to replace this bottle? I think that's a good question. I think I would say, oh God, that's really good. Have y'all had, any of y'all had the Old Fitz decanters? That's the spring 2021 release, I believe. Yeah, spring 2021, 8 years old, bottled and bond, quite delicious. I think given there's been some movement recently in Russell's and Wild Turkey products, I might take that $200 and go buy, I don't know, a single barrel, Russell single barrel rye for $75, and then you know, a couple of single barrel bourbons, even if they're just off the shelf single barrels. But that's what I might do with it, and I think I would enjoy that. I know I enjoy the Russell's products. I think I'd rather have 3, almost 4 bottles of that, 3 bottles of that, rather than 1 bottle of Stagg Jr. I did just notice that my label's gnarled up. That may affect my resale value. So maybe I'll end up drinking it anyway. That's that though. So I love to hear what you guys think. Should I sell them? One, which I've never sold a bottle in the secondary. It's illegal, you know. But truthfully, I've never sold one. Not tongue in cheek, I never have. I bought one bottle on the secondary. I don't think it counts because I paid $25 for a baby Saz, which is below retail, so I don't think that counts secondary. I know the TTB or the ATF may disagree with me on that. But I never sold one. I'd feel a little weird doing it. I'd feel hypocritical because I've been pretty adamant that I would never do that I'd keep drinking them. But what would you buy with the net $200 from that Stagg Jr bottle? I'll tell you one I will not sell. And frankly, it's pretty easy. They don't bring a lot on the secondary, but this is probably, it wasn't the first high dollar bottle I bought, but it was the first snap decision high dollar bottle I bought. It was $120. I actually had finally found, if you up there on the top shelf, if you can see it, is a Willet 4-year family reserve rye. Those were really hard to get, and then all of a sudden around here in Colorado, they just popped up everywhere. So I bought one, really liked it. When I went back to the store to buy another one, this guy was on the shelf. Actually, 3 of these Kentucky Owl Batch 1 ryes were on the shelf, and I bought one that day. I went back and bought the second one the next day. And then at the time, my boss went and bought the third one. Until I opened that Russell's 13, this was my favorite bottle of whiskey, bourbon, rye, scotch, you name it, favorite bottle of whiskey ever. It's gotten to a point where it enjoys some pedestal status that I don't like. I don't like having a bottle that I don't want to open for fear I'll never have another one. So I'll probably open it soon because I did get to that Russell's 13 that I think is as good or better from an enjoyment standpoint. I'll put the 4 Roses small batch in there, limited edition as well. So I think that's excellent. So I think I'm going to go ahead and open those. But that doesn't solve that problem. What if I sell it and I got $200? What do I buy? Everything's expensive. What if I sell this guy? I think that nets me $250. This Rock Hill Farms. Anybody had Rock Hill Farms and Blanton's or Rock Hill Farms and Eagle Rare? I've got 6 or 7 Eagle Rares in that cabinet over there. I really like Eagle Rare. 10-year-old age-stated whiskey. I think the most I ever paid for one of those was $30, $35, which I thought was too much at the time. Why would I not liberate $300 or $400 worth of cash from this bottle when it's ostensibly pretty close to the same whiskey? That's what I think. So while you guys ruminate on that and let me know what you think in the comments, I'm going to pour a little more, or a little of this 4 Roses. Let's see. 3 1920s and a pizza. Hell of an idea. Old Forester 1920. 4 Roses small batch select. Gotta be 2 of the best bottles under 100. And yes, Larry, invite friends over. Friends make the biggest difference. We did a podcast last night. Dan and I hadn't been podcasting a lot lately. So a friend of mine, Stacy, she and I got together because she had some questions about whiskey as a newbie whiskey drinker. And one of the things she actually asked, which was an excellent question, is does whiskey taste better in the company of good friends? And it absolutely does. But I don't think it's unique to whiskey. I think anything that you do is better and more enjoyable with good friends. Whiskey certainly amplifies that. So I like your style, Larry. In fact, why don't we do that next time I'm in Alabama? We'll buy some 19. I thought I had another 1920. I must have drank it because when I was looking before I started this to see what else was in that cabinet that I might have forgotten, there's a 1910. There are no 1920s, but 1920 is delicious. Has anybody tried the 1915? Which is what some whiskey geeks online have made new labels, and they blend 50% 1920, 50% 1910, call it 1915. Anybody tried that yet? I have not tried that. Yeah, Angus does too. This is kind of close. You know, you guys may be, Larry's not at work. I know Larry's not at work. He hadn't been at work in years. But if you're at work, you can't really drink. Knob Creek 90 single barrel, yeah, absolutely. Dan's hung up on those. The Knob single barrels. There's a store in Westminster, Colorado, Total Beverage, which is a chain. They've had 2 really good Knob single barrels. They're closer to 10 years old. But they're quite good. I've got one of them. The first time you found those, I bought one too. It's over in the cabinet somewhere. Delicious. You could buy a pile of those. Those are like 55 bucks here, so you could certainly buy almost 4 of those. Oh man. This bottle has caused me to think of another question. I'm not an aficionado of Four Roses whiskey. Every time I have it, I quite enjoy it. And I think, I wonder why I don't drink much of this. But I'm not that person that's figured out if I'm an OBSK person or an OBS whatever. I understand the basics. There's 2 mash bills, 5 yeast strains, it's 10 different recipes. I get it. That small batch select is 6 of those recipes. But every time I drink any Four Roses whiskey, I just think that tastes different. It tastes unique among bourbons. And I don't know why I don't drink more. But I've often thought, given what you read about these limited edition small batches, that might be the one, if I was going to stretch beyond retail, this might be one of them. And after having one, I still don't want to do it. I don't want to pay more than what you're supposed to pay, but what you're supposed to pay is what it's worth to you. And I'd stretch for another one of these. It's that good. It may take the title. My favorite bottle, which, you know, this one's held for a long time, that Russell's 13 took it, and then not long after, this guy. If you ever get a chance for one of those, if we need to do a practical still bottle split and go in on one, I'd be up for that too, because it is delicious. But Bender's right, those Knob Creek 9s, they're 55, 60 bucks around here. They are wonderful. They're significantly, and I think the regular 9-year-old knob you can buy any day of the week for under 30 bucks is really good. Those single barrels are significantly better. I don't know if people are picking good barrels or the extra proof pushes it over, but they're delicious. 20-year Four Roses special release. Sure, love to have some, but I don't believe I have the pockets for that, and I haven't gotten that lucky yet. Have you had that one, Bender? Have you had the Al Young or any of those special, super special releases? I haven't. I've had some really good Four Roses single barrels too. Yeah. I figured you were missing an L. Yeah, LOL. Good times. That's my question though. You know, hey, should I just sell these, 4 or 5? I'm never selling this one. But should I just sell this guy for 400 bucks? Should I sell this guy for $250? Should I sell this guy for $300 or $400? Should I sell this one for $250 and take that, whatever that added up, $800 or $900, $1,000, net out what I got in it, a couple $100. I got $750 to spend. Should I do that to get more whiskey that's commonly available? I don't know. I got enough whiskey. I don't really think more is going to help. I think I want to drink the quality. And that said, for my palate and the things I enjoy, I'm drinking this Wild Turkey. Toasted's been a bit of a bust in my opinion. The toasted finished, and not toasted barrels in general. Everything I've read says they got this right, which doesn't surprise me because I'm a gigantic Jimmy and Eddie Russell homer. I'm going to drink that one. I'm absolutely drinking this Kentucky Owl. I'm indifferent about Stagg, so I'll just hang on to it. I think when they start releasing the Staggs without the Junior on them, that these older bottles are going to go up even further. I'm kind of indifferent about Rock Hill Farm, so maybe I'll sell a couple, maybe I'll drink a few. Knob Creek is an 18. Knob Creek, Bender says, is releasing an 18-year-old. I may need the extra cash for that. I've had a 15, a Knob Creek 15 when it first came out. I've got another one in the cabinet that I got the second bottle in a charity deal, so I donated, I don't remember how much money, 25 or 50 bucks in one. So I got another 15 for a little less than I would have paid for it. I've got a 12 that I've never had the 12 knob, but an 18, I don't know, have you had Beam whiskey that old? I don't think I have. I don't know what because I'll tell you, the 15 is, it's a bit dry, and I don't care for dry oak. I enjoyed that bottle a lot, but I got the impression it was kind of on the edge of age for Jim Beam whiskey. I've not had anything older than 15 from Jim Beam, and I can tell you this, Heaven Hill bourbon, I think I just don't care for it past 10 years or so, because McKenna 10 single barrel is some of the best I've had. I've had some mediocre ones, never had a bad one. Love the Heaven Hill 7-year-old. Love a lot of the small batch, Elijah Craig small batch store picks, but I've just never had an Elijah Craig barrel proof that I really like. Those 12-year-old whiskeys. I've got an Elijah Craig 18. It was really good when we first opened it, but it too is kind of bitter. Frankly, I think that's why they proofed it down to 90 proof. I think a barrel proof 18-year-old Elijah Craig whiskey would be just trees. So I don't know. I haven't had an 18-year-old, anything older than 15 for Knob Creek. I got to say, if I got a shot at it, if the 15's $100 retail, what do you think the 18 is? 150, 200? I'd have a hard time paying that for those, given how good a $55 Knob Creek store pick is. I might stick with those. Larry says, why give up the special bottles for commodities? Yeah, it's become commoditized to some people. And it isn't to me until that point comes where I look at this and say, I've had plenty of it. I like it a lot. But my life isn't materially better if I have another. I've already had some. And there's plenty of other whiskeys I like just as much. In fact, that Russell's 13 I like way better. Most plain old 110 proof, the Russell's Reserve single barrel bourbons, I like most of those as much or more as I like Stagg Jr. There's a proof difference, but the flavor and enjoyment, I'd just soon drink the Russells. I don't know. Old is usually blended in the Booker's. Are you sure? Are you sure they're sneaking? I know when they did the Booker's 30th, that Fred No's idea, he said, was 16-year-old Booker's. But when he drank it, it just wasn't what it was supposed to be. And that's why it ended up being some 16 and some 9. So you feel like Bender in the typical Booker's releases, they're sneaking in some older whiskey? I don't know. I've never heard that. I've heard they're pretty picky about what goes in there, and then it's all in that 6-7-year-old range. I don't know. I sure like Booker's. It's another great question. If we're so hung up on age, why is a 6-year, 7-month-old bottle of Booker's so good? Is it that they are in fact lying to us, which I have posited before? Maybe the reason we love Booker's so much is that it really, that age on the label's got to be the age of the youngest whiskey. So maybe there is a 6-year, 7-month-old whiskey in there. Bender, I've kind of thought the same thing. Maybe there's some 12-year-old or some 8-year-old or some 9-year-old Beam whiskey in there, because how does that bottle, is it filtration? Is it because they don't filter it that it's that much better? I don't know, but it's an interesting question. Little Book, I've had a couple of Little Book releases and never been over the moon about it. I had a sip of the one, maybe it was Little Book Chapter 3, the one where he used all of the small batch, Beam small batch. So he used some Basil Hayden Knob, Bakers, and Bookers. But they were all fairly old related to their normal releases. That was pretty good, but it just, I don't know, it got cloudy in my head. I didn't think it was worth the money. Those things are expensive too. He's getting $100-120 for those. I don't know. I want to support the nose. I love the family. I love Jim Beam whiskey for sure. So let's see. Let's not wear everything out today. We'll finish up a sip. What's the final call? I think the majority says I drink them. I think that's what I'm going to do anyway, and I think that might be just my personality. I also have a drawer full of old cell phones that I've never sold. They just sit there after I get a new cell phone when everybody else trades them or something. Maybe that just says something about my personality, that once I've got it, I don't want other people to have it. The cell phone thing's different. It's a security issue, but the whiskey, I don't know. I'm gonna tell you this, I did keep these open. I gotta do a back to the bottle on this guy. Delicious, don't miss it if you get a chance. If you like weeded bourbons, for sure. This is just outstanding. I will buy these. I would stretch beyond the $200 retail for those. Holy crap, it's good. Don't miss that. If you do get a chance, there's still some of these Kentucky Owl Batch 1 Ryes floating around. I'll tell you this, the most money I've ever paid for a bottle is $320, and it was batch 8 of the bourbon, or 9, I can't remember. I think it was batch 8 of the bourbon. I debated on that back and forth. Paid $320 for it, and it was delicious. If it was a $100 bottle, I'd have a pile of them. $300 was ridiculous. I won't do that again. It was good. We drank that. My daughter got married, and we drank that the day they got married. Not all of it, but we opened it that day. But if you see these, don't miss those too. But that's the idea. I'm going to keep thinking on it. Maybe I'll sell one, because I don't, honest to God, I don't think I'd miss this guy at all. Do not think I'd miss a Stagg Jr. in the least. I got plenty of other whiskey I enjoy just as much. Maybe I'll try that one, see how it feels, buy some other whiskey with it. We'll get back together and see if that seemed like the right thing to do. In the meantime, I'm going to finish up this Four Roses. I can't wait for Dan to be back. He should be back in the saddle on the next Friday, I think, and we will do this in the world headquarters. We'll get him caught up on what we've been doing. I'm sure he's probably watching now with bated breath, excited about everything whiskey, not. And I don't know, we'll see. But I really appreciate everybody hanging out with me. I'm going to keep it short today. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Larry, Bender, and Angus. It's always good to hear from you guys and see you. It means a lot to me. I'm going to do a little more sipping. We'll check in next week. I'm going to put some stuff on the screen. Thanks, and cheers.